welcome back to the daily vlog. Had some problems yesterday, technical difficulties, almost was not able to get a vlog up. Editing the vlog, phone footage looks fine, audio recording on Audacity was fine, and the screen record audio had that crackle in it that you might have seen in one of my other vlogs. And I was just like, there's freaking 30 minutes down the drain, I guess I'll redo it. Just trying to show some EQ tricks. And so I filmed the vlog again, right? I think my HDMI cord going to my monitor came unplugged from my laptop, and that caused the screen record video to malfunction. I was like, God, I can't catch a break here. And so I did it a third time. And the third time wasn't perfect. We got like halfway through. I wanted to do subtractive and additive EQ in the same shot in all one video. And my Fab Filter plugin that I have here just went away. And the screen recording, like for whatever reason, it didn't capture it. So I was like, all right, well, instead of this being a 20-minute video, it's more like a 13-minute video. So I guess that's okay. But today we're going to do additive EQ. This is your go-to channel for any mixing, mastering, production, songwriting tips. I'm going to break it down to you in a simple way that everyone can understand. And I just think it's a different way of teaching. I think it's a way that people can understand without getting into this jargon that music engineers and mixing educators like to use to sound cool or sound professional. I really don't believe in that stuff, and I think we can get a lot further and educate a lot more people if we are down to earth about it. If we just break things down in not layman's terms, but just in a more friendly, less gatekeepy way. So yesterday we did some subtractive EQ, and remember, when you're EQing vocals, you're going to want to use subtractive EQ. Like for the most part, you're using it in the lows and low mids, and on my voice, I stopped taking away signal like pretty much at 1500, 1800 hertz, because the signal afterwards, the higher frequencies in my voice just need to be raised. And if you want to add that, and here we're going to use some words that the industry uses, air and shine, to the top end of your mix, which I really don't think those words help you understand kind of like what that means, like what you're actually doing to the audio signal. But typically when you're mixing vocals, you're doing subtractive EQ, and then you're adding all your compression. And then you are doing additive EQ, which mostly starts above 1500 hertz, maybe above 1300 hertz at the very least on male vocals. And so we're going to get in here and listen to this, and I'll just show you what we're going to do here.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself. Options, I wanna play the cards I'm dealt. I'm falling down.
Keep in mind that this is the additive EQ that I turned off. But this, I've already mixed this song, so it's already done. I'm just showing you kind of what I did. But I turned it off and I added another one. So we want to add this volume boost in the higher end. We're going to take a point here. We're going to go a high shelf, and a shelf just basically splits your EQ into two bands, and a high shelf faces the high end of the frequency spectrum. Grab your high shelf here. Usually there's a point around, like I said, 15 to 1800 hertz where you're like, okay, this signal now needs to be boosted. If we take a look at the dry
Can't do this by myself.
You can see here that the lows, the low mids, and the mids are all pretty much taken care of. You're seeing that we're missing information up here, and so that's what we're going to add to make this a more rounded vocal.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself. Options, I wanna play the cards I'm dealt. I'm falling down.
Now take your cue and increase it a little bit. Go to maybe like 1.8. I'm going to go to 2. And what you're going to do, that's going to create more of a sharp contrast between your low mids and your highs.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself. Options.
You can see right here at about 1760, the harmonics of the vocal start decreasing in volume. And so we're going to bring them back up.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself. Options, I wanna play the cards I'm dealt. I'm falling down, but you.
And like I said in yesterday's subtractive EQ video, there is a point that you can hear where maybe it's 1681.5, maybe it's 1702.5. There's a point where you should hear that the shelf has a perfect effect on the vocal. There is a right place to put this, and it should not be arbitrary. There's not some sort of guesswork that you have to do. There's a lock-in point. Listen.
Can't lie, can't do this by
So too much low down here at 929, 930.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself.
And it gets too thin if you're adding this shelf up at 3K hertz.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself.
Where's the beef of the vocal? Where would putting that shelf make the most sense? And I think it's right here around 1880.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself.
And that's another reason that Pro Q3 is such a phenomenal EQ. Again, I've had people complain, like elitist musicians that have not gotten anywhere with this craft. They get in my comments and they're like, oh, you use another fab filter enthusiast, another Pro Q3 user. I'm like, dude, it's the best EQ in the whole game. Like, you could argue that like the Pro Tools EQ is like better. Maybe, but like, dude, look at this, dude. Look, if you actually do some research on Pro Q3, the difference between an Ableton or a Fruity Loops stock EQ and a paid plugin like Pro Q3 comes down to how the software is written. I don't know the specifics of it, but I do know that Pro Q3 is more accurate. It's more precise. You can get finer and more precision with it. Also, you can do other things like sidechain. You can do some cool pre and post processing here. You can analyze spectrums. Like if I were to have a fab filter on any other track, I could juxtapose them. So anyway, just quick aside there about why I'm using Pro Q3 over like a stock EQ. Like we could go with a stock EQ for sure, but I stick with Pro Q3 just because it's so functional and precise. And it just really gives your audio a chance to be the best possible audio. Listen to this. We're going to add a little bell here because we want it, as the signal keeps getting higher in frequency, we want to keep adding volume as we go up. And this is specific to this beat and my voice. And for maybe a higher vocal or a vocal without so much grit in it as mine has, maybe you wouldn't add so much high end, or maybe you'd add even more high end. But let's just listen and see where we want to put this enhancement.
Can't lie, can't do.
And you can see.
Can't lie. Can't lie.
You could see at the 3.6 kilohertz range, 3,600 hertz, that is the point where it really starts dropping off. And really, you have gaps in here too. You have between 2.2 and 3.6. We want information to be added there, especially after 4K hertz. So we're comfortable with this bell here.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself. Options, I wanna play the cards I'm dealt.
Make the architecture of the hump just round your EQ. You want pretty even information.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself. Options.
It just depends what the song calls for, but I'm filling in the missing information here.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself. Options, I wanna play the cards I'm dealt. I'm falling down, but you would never know I fell. And
We could probably even move it over a little more. Why not?
Can't lie, can't do this by myself. Options, I wanna play the cards I'm dealt. I'm falling down, but you would never know I fell.
Doesn't need to be perfectly rounded. You want it to look like a mountain range, kind of like that. But see how it's pretty even across. And we're going to take another high shelf here, and we're just going to keep raising.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself. Options, I wanna play the cards I'm dealt.
And just keep going with it. Do another high shelf. Why not? We want that high information, this air up here at 10 to 15 to 20K hertz. I just want to keep going up.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself. Options, I wanna play the cards I'm dealt. I'm falling down.
Now, I will say that up at the higher end of the spectrum, if you do boost that, exponentially more, if you boost that, 6 decibels, 9 decibels, 12 dB, you will have too much ting, too much like just hissiness, and the sibilance, the stuff above 7K hertz is really harsh, so you don't want to touch it too much. So there should be a little bit of drop off towards the end, but we do want to keep adding through the end of that signal here.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself. Options, I wanna.
And then use your ear and use the the basis of the relationship between the beat and the vocal to decide, okay, do I have to add more high end into this, or would that make it stick out over the beat too much? And then maybe you can go back to your subtractive EQ curve and be like, okay, well, you know, since I made these changes, is there anything else I would adjust? But I usually don't recommend that backtracking. It's just going to mess you up. So do your subtractive EQ, do your compression, and then do this final additive EQ.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself. Options, I wanna play the cards I'm dealt. I'm falling down, but you would never know I fell. And I'd prosper if I could just focus on myself. Afraid I'm quite in common with the well-known, and I'm trying to get what's mine without the elbows.
So the whole range of the vocal is fitting into the beat nicely. Don't mix blind. Don't hit mute on the beat bus. Don't mute any instruments, because you want to see if anything's being masked by the vocal, or if there's anything that is sticking out over the vocal and hiding too much of the vocal. So that's it. I mean, we're keeping it pretty short today. We're going to go over some other EQ tricks later, EQing other instruments, EQing things like drums. I mean, it can get pretty advanced. I mean, there's a reason why the best mix engineers are paid hundreds of thousands a year to do this kind of thing. But that's pretty much all I wanted to cover. You can get, with Pro Q3, you can really get pretty precise with it, and just every song is different. So I think something I mentioned yesterday was try to avoid putting a vocal chain on a vocal and recording it that way and then just going with it. Try to EQ every song on its own and be like, okay, well, maybe in this song the architecture of the percussion, or the boominess of the bass, or, you know, there's a synth that's just really stingy and really loud, makes it necessary for you to poke the vocal out over it a little bit, or mask the vocal a little bit if there's clashing. You know, that's called EQ masking. There's something competing. You want to pick the element you want to have and not have too much competing in that frequency range, I should say. And so you can have your plugins set up here, but turn them all off. If you have a standard amount of auto-tune you like to use for your sound or whatever, that's fine. I think it's fine to have auto-tune on. You know, Melodyne, we can talk more about a different time, but it's custom. It's the specific notes you want to change tuning wise. Try not to go in with any preconceived notion of how you like to use a compressor, how you like to just always have your de-esser and your Pro Q3 and your saturation, unless you know, with saturation it could be a little different. I mean, you can have a certain amount of buzz that you always want on your vocal, but again, every song is different. You want to mix into the beat, mix into the track itself, because if you don't, you're going to have vocals that either stick out too much in some or more areas, or vocals that are being buried, and you don't want that. So with mixing vocals and EQ, that's all I pretty much wanted to cover. We can go into more later, but that's it. We're going to keep it short today. This is Brave and Will Make It. Little vlog today while I continue to work on my music, kind of on the side, doing some promo stuff. We're going to do TikToks tomorrow, and we're just going to go to a couple different locations and film some wild shit. So thanks for tapping in with me, and I hope you guys are digging the short form content too. I love you guys. Appreciate you. Have a good night.
Can't lie, can't do this by myself. Options, I wanna play the